Thank you so much for coming. My name is Donna Feigenbaum, and I am a proud Glen Rocker since 1974. I came when I was 3 years old. And I am part of a small grassroots group of people who are exploring, as I'm sure you all know from reading our information, the potential of having a neighborhood network in Glen Rock to help all of us age at home, age in place, where we would be provided with social opportunities and transportation, companionship, and services and repairs. Everything that you can imagine. I'm super excited about this, and I hope that you will walk out very excited too. I just want to mention in advance, because we had some very nice merchants who gave us door prizes, and we will be calling them out later. But we did get door prizes from, is it Pedal Cakery? Pedal Dust Cakery, Glen Rock Inn, Asian Fusion, Trevino's, and Kosher Nosh. So a lot of good food, and yeah, all good food. Okay. I just want to introduce my committee before we get started. And if you just kind of raise your hand when I say your name, we have Mary Marchetto, and we have Theresa Gilbran, and Reggie Feinstein, Emily Greenfield, Terry Van Delden, and the person I'm going to have come up next, who is Kathy Kuzma. She is the Executive Director of North Jersey Villages, which I'm sure she's going to explain better, but they are the umbrella organization under which our efforts are being made. So I would love to introduce right now Janet. Janet, oh my gosh. My apologies, Janet. You're scribbled on the side here. I'm so sorry, Janet. Janet.
Thank you so much. We raised our family here in Glen Rock, and then we went south. Then we came back north. And then we came back north. Is that better? I am really very bad at this. So I just wanted to mention to you that we are taking photos and videoing this event. And the reason we're videoing it is so that those who are at home who could not be here today will have an opportunity on your local TV station to see what's happening. Okay? So if anyone has a problem, you can let us know later, and we'll make sure you're wiped out of anything that... But anyway, so we're taking pictures to have a little bit of a history of this wonderful kickoff event. So I'm Kathy Kuzma, and as Donna mentioned, I'm Director of North Jersey Villages. And I'm happy to see so many old friends here, and some young friends. Okay. So back in 2014, I was introduced to the Village movement at a conference of senior service providers. I was very excited about the Village membership organization because it was a neighbors helping neighbors concept. Neighbors who are aging at home, choosing to age at home, and they would make services that were needed more available. I thought this idea might be ideal for Bergen County, so I brought it home. A core group of Glen Rockers invited you here tonight, and Donna introduced them, to explore this village concept. The village provides an organizational support and outreach. So if you have a neighbor who usually knows about all the local services and everything and drives you when you need to go somewhere, the doctors or shopping, or, you know, the evening rides when it's difficult to drive at night, and they help you to get stuff done that gets a little bit more difficult with age, but they can't do it today when you need them. So another neighbor is available through this organized effort of an online system or a one-on-one phone call. It's really so, you know, you have wonderful activities here in Glen Rock and services, the police and the fire, the ambulance corps, a van on some days, and social activity groups, educational and cultural events at the library and with community school. and even snow shoveling by local teens. So, and a lot more. And that's all great. But tonight's meeting is about you and aging at home in your town, Glen Rock, but to do it more safely, more affordably, and more enjoyably. So there's a gap, because as we age, and we're living in our homes and our apartments, we realize that we have new needs. We can't do everything that we used to be able to do. So when you need that ride, or are you a caregiver who needs some time out, or you need a light bulb changed, or to have the leaves raked, or a simple repair in your home, do you have a family member or a friend who lives nearby to help you? You know, these seem trivial things, but when you live alone, or your support group doesn't live nearby, who do you call? So tonight, we are offering to close this gap with a concept where services for you or your neighbor could be met by reaching out to neighborly volunteers of all ages. Your input about developing this concept in Glen Rock is really very important. And you're needed to join the Glen Rock core group on this adventure. So we'd like to see that core group enlarge and have more and more input. And North Jersey Villages is very happy to help you on the journey. So that's our commitment to you, that we will support you in this effort, but we need your input. In just a minute, we're going to see a video. And it's a video about an existing village in Pasadena. And it's one of over 360 villages throughout the United States. Then after the video, you'll have an opportunity to give your input, and so that we can identify the unique goals of a neighborhood network here in Glen Rock. So listen to Pasadena, think about what you have and what you would like, and I look forward to seeing your responses.
I realized I was coming into the fourth quarter of my life. I knew that I needed to plan ahead to think about how to be my best self. And I knew that I couldn't do that just by getting older and playing more golf and sitting on the couch and watching television. So I got together with a bunch of my friends and I said, what can we do going forward in our lives to make our lives the best we can make them and the most creative and stay interesting?
And so we started meeting in our living room, and the options didn't look very attractive to any of us, and so we started to explore the idea of CoHousing, which is a Danish concept of a group of people coming together intentionally and forming a group, designing, building, and then occupying a community of residents with common facilities. It turned out there was just anywhere near Pasadena that we could do this because the city was built out, basically. And we all sat around looking at each other. Our group had kind of grown a little bit, and saying, we don't really want to leave Pasadena. We don't want to go to the outskirts or into the desert or to another state. We love this town. One of our early members, Elsie Sadler, said, you know, I was just in Boston as part of her role as, I think, chairman of the Sophie Miller Foundation, which was attached to the Episcopal Communities and Services. They decided to spend some time with the Boston Beacon Hill Village. So she said, you know, you ought to look at this village idea. So we Googled it, and here we saw this group of people getting together in their own community to create a way for people to stay in their community as long as possible.
This is not a place, this is a concept. The village concept is to simply provide a means that elders can stay in their own home. That's the significant part of it, and enjoy all of the advantages they might have in a nice retirement home. And by that I mean all of the social activities.
Okay, so Thursday morning, you need a ride to Fair Oaks in California, right?
They've joined an organization that they can participate in. They're all part of it, and they can contribute and volunteer. And they can join groups of other people that have similar interests.
Oh, that is so beautiful.
And the research library is one of the largest independent research libraries in the country.
So all of those things make up the village concept.
As soon as we learned about the village, we started meeting on a regular basis every week. We'd have breakfast and just sit there around the breakfast table and talk about what are the pieces that we have to put on the table? How do we begin to get a board of people who will work together? We need somebody who's going to be good at computers, who can set up a website. And we'll need somebody who has experience with the medical aspects of aging. And we'll need somebody who's very good at doing the finances. And then we'll have to find a person who is willing to be a director with a very small office. If they have to give up their home, they don't want to have to go out to...
During that period, we also started having picnics. Once a month, we would get our little band together and invite people in that we thought might be interested in our village. And, 20 people would show up, and 3 or 4 would raise their hand and say, I'd like to come along on this ride. And some have become board members, and others have become members. And that reaching out became a part of our personality.
We'll be partnered with various organizations in Pasadena. We've already struck up partnerships with the Huntington Senior Care Network, the Senior Center, and there are so many agencies currently in place in Pasadena designed to provide services for seniors that we will be coordinating with them. We're not going to invent services. We're going to connect people to existing services.
It's been proven really that social support enriches your health and prolongs your life and makes your life more worth living.
I'm going to be here too, but yeah, that's what we should do.
Outsourcing and services that are provided by the Senior Center.
They could still be in their home.
Probably Sierra Madre and like the PUSD districts, but also we've got some people from La Cañada and some people from Arcadia. I don't think we're going to kick anybody out.
And so over the course of that year, we kind of began to form the committees that we were going to need to take care of membership development, fundraising, getting the programs right.
And I think we need to start with the hospital.
If you need a roof fixed, you get a referral.
Social activities.
And those who could pay more would have to supplement.
Communications and outreach functions, all those needed volunteers and among us to take our little original band and expand that out into committees, and those all got working. The journey from our early days when Sue came on board to our grand opening, I think was probably about a year of 11 of us just rowing the boat hard so that when we launched, we'd know what we were doing.
there.
We're 60 strong now. We opened for business on July 1 and we're 60 and growing. So would all the members raise their hands who are here, okay?
It makes little difference what our life journey has been up to this point, but the fact is we're all in it together. We're all getting older, and we all have the same needs and concerns as everybody else. And I think it's that common bond, that common interest that makes the village what it is.
The Board of Directors of Episcopal Communities and Services and the trustees of the Sophie Miller Foundation, which is our supporting organization, we are thrilled today to provide a sizable gift to the village that will sustain its executive director for the next year. That gift also includes an amount that will provide scholarship memberships and incidental services for people who otherwise could not afford to join the village. We would like to present a check in the amount of $130,000 to the Pasadena Village. Wishing you well, and knowing there's more to come next year. So build that membership. Congratulations.
And across the top in big letters, kind of, I'll help. I do think that Pasadena is a good place to incubate these things. We're not too urban, we're established, we got all these things going on, and if you can't do it in Pasadena, you can't do it anywhere. That's how I feel.
The spectrum of services that we provide is quite varied, and it's all of the things that you can sort of picture that a person living in their home and unable to do some of the things that they used to do might require. And so that means, you know, whether it's standing on a ladder and putting in a light bulb, or whether it's fixing a leaking faucet, or whether it's the cat's gone. She got out and I don't know how to find her.
I just think the idea that you have more friends that will be looking out for you, it's something that we can, you know, I don't think anybody has too many friends.
With kids, as they get in their own lives or whatever, it's hard to get them to come do this or do that, where the Pasadena Village members will probably be there when you need them. Where that your kids, you'll have to say, okay, well, I need my medicine. Well, I'll pick it up, Mom, 2 days later, but I might need it today.
The only service I've taken advantage of when I needed information on where to find someone to fix a couple of broken windows. And surprisingly, 2 volunteers from the Pasadena Village organization came out and took care of removing the windows and taking them to the glass shop and recovering them and reinstalling them.
These are all of the problems that somebody faces, and oftentimes leads them to having to leave their home. And that's the very thing we want to be able to solve, is how to keep somebody in their home.
I like the idea of you only have to go to one place to get an answer. I hate going through those automated phone calls where you got to touch button 1 and then touch button 3 and then touch the star. With Pasadena Village, it's the one phone call. And you get a human being, which is marvelous.
There are different ways in which we can participate in the village. I think that there are times in which we just feel that this gives us the opportunity to give, to serve, and to be of help to other people.
If somebody in the village has gotten sick or broken a leg and is lying in bed, the village people can just volunteer to go and sit by their bed, talk to them, read to them. It gives them a sense of their significance of their lives.
And I have agreed to be a volunteer on the communications committee, and that has proven to be right in the area of which my career was built, which is advertising and promotion. And I've been able to make a contribution there.
For people who, for example, would like to have phone calls every day and to make sure that they're well, that's something they can volunteer. So whether it is giving or receiving, it goes both ways. They have joined an organization in which they can volunteer and which they can receive services comfortably.
To have someone your age talk to you about your computer is very different than having your 17-year-old grandnephew pick it up, do the thumbs and give it back to you, and you still can't do it. But with our age group, when they take you through it, they do it 1, 2, 3, now you do it, which means when you leave, you can do it.
What happens when I, as a villager, go help one of my villager friends who needs something done? And the first experience was literally me going out to change light bulbs. And I did it, and when we went to say goodbye, the woman who had asked me over came over, gave me a hug, and she had tears in her eyes. And how moved she was that somebody would actually come over and help her out. And that'll make your day.
By asking for services, by needing something, you're actually providing a service to those who then have a chance to make a connection with you and to learn from you.
Being a member of the Pasadena Village has really given me sort of like out of my comfort zone, sort of like not just being afraid to reach out or afraid to meet people, So it has been very helpful to me that I am a member of the Pasadena Village.
When you're getting older and your friends are beginning to die and you're beginning to be worried about your health, there's lots of things that you need. But what you really need is someone who's going through that with you, so you're not alone.
We carry each other along, we ask each other the questions, we get the answers, but most of all, we keep moving. We keep going. And as we go, it's like the ragtag group that brings everybody along because they hear the music, they hear the laughter, they see them, they're colorful, and people want to be a part of that. And I think when you bring that joy, that sense of, aha, it's contagious.
Hey, hi Margaret, how are you?
Good to see you.
Great to see you.
The Pasadena Village program provides me with a whole environment, an emotional environment and an active community environment, which will allow me to develop into a reasonably interesting older guy.
Really great things to say. Does anybody need me to stand at the microphone? Can you all hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. So I'm Theresa Gilbran, and it's really great to see all of you here this evening. And I want to say something just to clarify. So I'm here in my role as a private resident, private citizen of Glen Rock. I'm not here in any official capacity. You know, Mary Barchetto is here in that same vein, you know, that we're here as private folks, just as you all are here. We just happened to get involved in this early on. We've been doing a lot for the last couple of years, you know, with seniors, and this came to our attention, and it seemed like a really interesting concept. For me personally, you know, my plan, my goal is to age in place. That's my goal. But when you start to see how things happen, for folks who know me, they know my mom is 93 years old. And she has me. You know, I'm the light bulb changer, or the ant trap getter, or the whatever else is going on this time of year. But not everybody has that. Not everybody has that person they can call. Maybe their friends have left town, you know, the mass exodus after your kids graduate high school here. Some people just go. We're lucky enough to have some folks who are moving into our Glen Rock community. And one of the reasons that people thought Glen Rock was a great place to float this idea, and I want to be super clear, right now, it's an idea, it's a concept, is because of the heart and soul of Glen Rock, right? That people have that in them to help each other. And so this seemed like a great place to ask these questions and see, is a Glen Rock neighborhood, a village, something that would make sense, for us here? So this was a lot of information for everybody, just the village concept. And there were a few things in the video that I just want to sort of comment on, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. And I'm sure I won't have all the answers, but between Kathy and Terry and Janet, I think we'll have some answers for you. So this particular Pasadena village, they talked about all the services that they provide. But that's their village. That's their decision. Those decisions, because we don't have a group yet, we have a concept, have not been made for this community here in Glen Rock. Those are all open ideas. They talked about the idea of membership. And so a lot of villages have a nominal fee that they ask folks to pay, maybe $100 a year, some number, in order to have, if they hire somebody, some villages hire an administrator to take those phone calls. 40%, I think is the right number, Kathy, about 40% of villages are all volunteer run. And about 60%, have somebody come in there. Again, none of that has been decided. This is all concept. The idea of, do we want to do that? We're hoping to also have, younger folks involved, because as service providers, who then later on will benefit from being part of the village. So I hope that clarifies a couple things. Was there anything else that we should add?
Well, I just wanted to clarify something because of questions that I've been asked. We have not a lot of good things in town. We have bus trips, and we have Glen Rock and Seniors, and we have other activity clubs and so on. We would be an independent nonprofit organization, not to compete against anything that's already in existence, just to do the things that we talked about and that you've seen on the video, and to add and obviously enhance the hope of being able to age in place in Glen Rock. So it's not that we would be taking over or dominating, we'd be our own
But we would
system.
be highlighting what already exists, and that's the beauty of the village, that Glen Rock is an ideal location because we have so much going on, but not everybody knows about it in one place. So the symbol of the village is the umbrella. So you have that one stop where I'm interested in joining a walking club. I'd love to I need to get my blood pressure checked once a month. Does that happen here in Glen Rock? Yes, it does. This is the time. So it's really a one-stop shop. Yep. So, that's a lot to take in. What questions can we try? Can we do our best to answer for you? What things would you like to know?
20 years ago, they're not wearing masks. It's got to be a different concept now.
Yeah, well, this was 2012, I think. That was when this was done.
I thought it was 2002.
But Kathy can talk to that because it's very much alive. And
So
growing.
during the pandemic, what happened was, if any of you followed North Jersey villages, we became a virtual village. If you were online with us, we had the list of all the places that you could go online. You could enjoy the Met, you could enjoy, lots of things online. What we did was gather all that information so that while you were quarantined, you could still be part of a community, you could still be active. We videoed anything that we did, and we made sure that those seniors who don't use the computer could see it on their local TV. Our website became very robust because we needed to respond to that. So the idea of the village community and supporting each other, okay, so the food and the Meals on Wheels, so we connect with all of those things and we help to make it happen. And it kept happening, it didn't stop. Were we together physically? No. Were we together in spirit? Yes. So going forward, it's not going to be any different than any other organizations that you belong to in terms of, so when you talk about services, so I can envision some homebound seniors being able to do tutoring over Duo and Facebook because now they've learned how to do this better, right? Or Zoom. they couldn't do that before. So the pandemic has given us certain advantages as well. So we look at the village, and this is happening nationwide. We're all looking at what new things can we do. So it hasn't slowed us down. It's only meant that we're looking at more opportunities and to bring a better quality of life for all seniors who choose to age at home. Any other questions connected to that, like anything else I can? A lot of the villages are now open throughout the United States.
I was just wondering what percentage of the population in Glen Rock is over 65?
14%.
14. So about how many residents would that be?
Let's see. Let me make us do that. So it's about 1,450. So we're 12,000 now. About 1,500 people.
Is that number increasing or decreasing? I mean, do you have a sense of that? I mean, as far as people moving.
It's, it has, interestingly enough, it's been kind of stable. I don't know what that's going to look like in 10 years, but it's been it hasn't been dramatically different. But that is an interesting point about the aging population, is that the idea right now is that, this generation, the boomer generation, if you will, that there's this big bubble and it's going to pass. And then, we get back to normal levels of, an aging population. That's not the truth. This is, the beginning of it, and it's going to stay right around this level, just in terms of healthcare and other areas. So the Census Bureau historically has looked at the age pyramid in kind of a wide triangle. And if you look at now what it looks like, it looks a lot closer to a column. And, that reflects, in some cases lower birth rates, right? So we don't have as many, you wouldn't know it by Glen Rock because we have, kids everywhere. But if you look at the census data, it's much more of a column. And that's what's coming. So as Mary said, the idea of services and needing services and things being, maybe fewer people to provide those services, if you will. We see that in the medical systems, etc. But it's an interesting visual, I will tell you.
In Bergen County, they've already done this, and a second question, would you consider combining towns like Glen Rock, Ridgewood?
So I'll give you one answer, and then Kathy's going to correct me, because I can't answer the Bergen County town. But the idea of what we're exploring is that North Jersey Villages, right, is a hub, and Glen Rock would be a spoke. So that we would have the ability to benefit from the larger organization and not have to do everything. But the question about the other Bergen County communities.
We have several other communities who have been looking at developing a village. I'm looking forward to Glen Rock being the model for there are some churches up in Pascack Valley who are looking at doing a community. There's one town where the health and the director of the senior center are looking at being part of developing a village. We have another town that's looking to just do a transportation aspect of just to provide transportation, and a Hackensack high-rise. So that Hackensack high-rise concept goes back to the old Norks, right? Actually occurring retirement communities. So when a building gets to a point where it has a certain percentage of a higher percentage of seniors in it, it becomes what they call a Nork. And that was the early concept of the village, actually. That's what it was.
So Glen Rock, in fact, could be the first one in Bergen County, fully active. There are over 300 across the nation, and there's a national organization that provides support. So I was on a call in the last couple of weeks, and the nature of the call was lots of villages that were either in their infancy or that were in the forming stage. And the more, it seems to me, my observation is that the more villages there are, the more support there is. So there was one group talking about it took them 3 years to get their village really off the ground. And other folks seem to be a little bit more accelerated because there are lots more answers to questions about how to do the village. So is that fair?
I wanted to answer the question about combining towns. That's what the hub and spoke model does, actually. So what's happening, it would not combine your providing services to your members or having your social events with your members in your community. You build community within your neighborhoods. In fact, a town like Englewood could have 4, because of the way they're set up in quadrants, they would probably have 4 villages within Englewood. The hub is what would be where you would share resources and back office kind of assistance so that you could focus on providing the services to the community. That's the hub and spoke model, and that's the model that's growing most in the United States. So where there have been villages, like in Westchester, there are 8 villages across that part of New York. They have now come into what's a hub.
Mr. Lang.
Yes, hi, I'm Peter. How does the senior study that we've gotten the brochures about fit into all of this?
So again, I'll just be clear. So that is a borough initiative, right? And that's separate from what we're talking about here. Although once that information is public, we, will also see things about, the community. But it's a separate initiative. That will also help us talk about borough needs, etc., a master plan. This is a separate group with their needs. Is there going to be intersection? I have to imagine yes. But for clarity, we don't have any availability to that data until the public does. So I know it's very confusing because Theresa and I, we have our council hats as well, but it shows how this is how passionate we are about this aspect of life here in Glen Rock, that this is a whole different thing we want to pursue as, our regular selves. So I know it's a little tough to think of us separately, but again, we will be just using what is there to share the information. So we won't be taking anything from here and creating anything within the municipality with municipal funds. That's something else. So this is, it isn't out of notice that we have a high knowledge level because we're, we're part of the government, but it's just I just want to be super clear about that.
So if one volunteers, are you volunteering with the hub? Are you volunteering with the community? And how does that?
So it's really right now what we're talking about is our scope, right? We're talking about our scope. What does the community of Glen Rock think it wants to be? What services? Does Glen Rock want to start with 3 services and then see how it goes? Are we going to start with 5? How are we going to do our own scope? And that's really up to us to make that decision as to what works and what folks who are part of the, who want to get involved in the establishment, what they want. As Kathy said, there could be a large community that ends up with 4 different, little villages in there because maybe they don't have the same needs. We, Glen Rock, are not a big place. We're not Englewood, we're not Hackensack, we're Glen Rock. So we're, we could, if we choose to be, we'll be a Glen Rock neighborhood. And we put the word neighborhood in there because frankly, every time we say village, everybody thinks of Ridgewood. So we were trying to say, a Glen Rock neighborhood because we are neighborly and that's kind of who we are. But it fits under the village concept. Is that?
Yeah, and are we like the right critical mass to do something like this?
So if you recall in the Pasadena video, they had been at it for a while and they had 60 members. That was their membership, and they have in that a smaller, I'll say organizing, a board group in there helping to send things forward. But all of those decisions would be made by a core group, folks that want to, the group that we have today, Emily, Janet, Mary, me, Donna, I guess Kathy and Terry to some extent, but they're from North Jersey. Right. Reggie, sorry, you're behind this man. So we are not enough. we're not enough. We're enough to say, listen, there's this idea, how do you all feel? But we're not enough to make the group and to make the core, because many hands make light work. And you also want to make sure that in a community that your neighborhood is what you want it to be, right? It's not, we're not going to look like Pasadena. They're interesting, but we're not going to necessarily look like them. I suppose we could at some point, but we're going to look like the Glen Rock neighborhood if we choose to go forward.
And this is the first of what will be multiple, I don't want to say a few, I don't want to say many, we're going to be having more events. So Senior Fest, May 22nd at the Borough, as our own independent group, not as council people. There's going to be information there, so people can find out about it there. We will have another information meeting during the daytime. We will have another information meeting that's targeted towards teenagers who are looking for community service hours, young families at home, who have a parent who they have a few hours of the kids are in school to help with things. This is an infrastructure that we're building for the whole community to be a part of, and it's going to take some time to build that. We are absolutely over the moon about the turnout tonight, but now you all can go, and if you're pleased with this, then help spread the word about it, and then we can really increase exponentially. And this will, some of the things I've heard on calls, like there's a very interesting line between providing services, but not getting into that very, needed space, but medical, dementia, Alzheimer's, right? Those require medical attention. But for people who, I think on the simplest, thing, my friends have moved out of town. I'd like someone to have a cup of tea with me once a month, like to come and put that kettle on. Or I know somebody who's a retired electrician and I just need a light switch replaced. They're not going to rewire your house. That's not what a village does, but a light switch replaced. And it's just those things. Who do you call?
Yeah, I saw this happen twice. I think both times there were Kilroys who are a very disoriented older person, usually somebody living in town, was just completely disoriented. Unfortunately, there were some sweet people on the checkout line that coordinated things and got the police. But I would think part of this would also be an education. What do you do if you see somebody, an elderly person, wandering on the street, clearly off their meds or having an incident? Right. We also had a very serious incident where a woman had a stroke walking home from town and Second Council. I would think part of what we would do might be some education about how to handle situations so you do get more of a village effect, to watch out for the kind of problems that can happen. It could be other things, people falling in their house.
Right. And that's a great point. And you want people who are going into someone's home to be able to see those signs, right? And to be able to know who to call. Maybe refer to a family member, or
I had another time where just a neighbor had fallen down, an elderly person, and wanted to lift it up. Now, whether I should or shouldn't have done it, I did it, but I would think that could also be part of what this is about.
I'm sorry, one of my questions, but
No.
I'm interested at a volunteering level, but is there some kind of liability coverage if you're a volunteer and you're helping somebody and you're making your
so
best effort?
villages do get insurance. Villages will do background checks, on volunteers going into homes, because you don't want to send a volunteer to a home where that person's a problem, nor do you want a volunteer who's a problem to go into a home. So villages will do background checks to make sure, for the safety, and that there's insurance that is obtained by the village. What else can we tell you? We can go the other way. You can start telling us some things. Yep.
All right, so,
yes.
So it sounds like this is a complete volunteer program. Is that true? Or do you have paid individuals, executive directors, buildings, and things like that that are going to grow over the years? And then the question is, to what extent are they going to grow over the years?
So I'm going to say it depends. about 60% of villages have some compensated people. 40% are all volunteer run. I think that one of the
40% are volunteer?
40% are
Of the villages.
Of the villages, 100% volunteer run, 60% have some paid resource. I imagine that one of the first paid resources might be the person who answers the phone and tries to line up the volunteer and their skill with the need of the person calling, right? So that you have that. I don't think I'm going to ask Kathy, you know, the boards, you know, for the villages that everybody, they're volunteers, and you know, it really is very grassroots and very shoestring, and I think the village itself decides its direction. You know, we're a small community. I don't see us building a building, right?
Well, I mean, look, I helped a neighbor of mine, his son, his wife died for almost 3 years. I went and took care of him every night, rubbed cream on his legs, and this and that, and everything. So I'm not a hard-hearted person, but I'm very concerned about how this is going to grow into a bureaucracy that will just keep on growing, and then what is the cost in 2, 3, 5, 10 years from now? And we have Social Security, we have welfare, we have the food bank, and all these other things, and I'm concerned that this is not going to double up, or that this might double up of what those things are. And I have been in non-for-profit organizations in the past, and I've seen some very fat salaries for the executive directors. And I just didn't think it was fair. So I'm raising this point because I think it's important for the community and citizens in this town to understand what the short and long-term costs of this thing are going to be.
And I'm going to say one short answer, and then Kathy stood up. I know she's going to give a longer answer. But, you know, again, those decisions are within our control, right? And I'm going to ask Kathy about the broader question of buildings and boards.
Okay, I don't know of a single village that owns a building. I've looked at a lot of websites, I've looked at a lot of, you know, they may have an office space that might have even a small, I'm thinking of Celebration, Florida. I've been in their facility. It's basically, it's their senior center that they use the space in. They have an office and they have a space, but very few villages, that's not the village concept. It's not a place, it is a concept. So that is not part of, it's just not part of who the village is. The other part of that is every village has their own, they self-govern, okay? So even though you're part of the hub, you're a spoke within the hub, you're self-governed. What you get from us right now, through development until you start your own fundraising, and you get the fiscal support. And if you decide that you would also like to continue with us for back office support, then we would make that part of our agreement. Every village, even within the hub and spoke, if there's another village that wants to do it, another spoke village that wants to do it a little bit different with their hub relationship, they can. That's really how flexible it is. You're going to determine what our relationship is, and you're going to decide what the benefits really are in terms of the hub helping out and shared resources. I mean, it's just, it makes sense. And as I said, it's the model that's growing most in the United States. I would like to speak about one other thing, I'm sorry. You're talking about insurance and about helping people. When you are serving in the capacity of member helping member, your membership form has an indemnification, and you basically indemnify each other, okay? So you're saying when volunteers come to help me, I know that they are volunteers and they are not responsible, okay? You have your own personal insurance and whatever, but that's part of the membership structure, okay? That's part of what we're given. The Village to Village Network, the national organization, has given us all the tools that we need to develop a village that's not only going to service, but also protect who you service and how you service. So it protects the volunteers and the people who are being serviced. Okay, I mean, I can go into that a little bit more, but basically, that's the concept. Okay.
One question back here.
I want to play devil's advocate and ask the council members, as council members, does this absolve the council of a lot of responsibility for seniors in town because they now have their own group?
And like we said, you know, the symbol is the umbrella. So North Jersey Villages needs the municipal services to direct folks to, right? So we're not going to
what
be
is
creating.
the relationship you envision between the town and the village?
That the village volunteers become experts in what the municipality has to offer. There's no direct relationship. It's the village saying, look at all these great things that are going on for seniors here in town. Let's make sure they all know about it and can get to it.
So the kind of boosters and promoters and
exactly. I'll give you a very concrete example. You call the volunteer phone number and you need a ride somewhere. And that volunteer will say, did you know that the town has a bus that could take you during these hours? And you say either yes or no. If it's yes, and that works out, like you've now, you know, we put you in touch with a service that exists in our community.
But the town can't just let us all know that.
No, we absolutely, and we do. We put it in you know, the senior newsletter and the calendar, the website. You know, we shout it from the rooftops, and yet still people don't know about things. So this is yet another way for municipal services to be advertised. And
it's supposed to enhance municipal services, not replace them.
Right. Correct.
And the survey, what's the survey that was that's going on?
So that's our other hat, and let's pretend we're totally different people who walked in, and we're saying, hi, we did that survey to plan for other municipal services that the borough will be responsible for. It's a whole different conversation, whole other people, right?
But it will.
Oh yeah, anything that's created in town would be something that the village would promote and connect seniors.
And when are you meeting about that?
I think we're getting very dangerously close to the council private citizen line, so we'll talk to you about that at a council meeting. That would be great.
Are you Carolyn? No, Nancy.
Yeah. We can talk offline.
Hi, I'm Emily, and I'm going to talk later, but I'll just say I study age-friendly community initiatives and community-based social innovations in aging. I'm also a resident of Glen Rock. I just want to say from my vantage point too, that connection between the municipality and the village. Yeah, I think it's helpful to kind of think about it as like a public-private ecosystem, and so they kind of coexist. So we got some really strong examples of how the village can amplify the municipality services, but I also think, and there's precedent of this, of villages and age-friendly communities in other geographies, of the bidirectional relationship where the village also can advocate and inform the elected leaders and the municipal bodies on how things are actually working and where are areas for improvement. So for example, the shuttle service. We have members asking for shuttle service, but the shuttle service isn't at the right hours. That's useful information, you know, and so I think ideally in a very functional, healthy system, you have kind of a good two-way lines of communication between private entities like villages and public bodies like the council that are really invested in the same shared aspirational goals and kind of working at it from different angles in a symbiosis. So ideally, that's what you're kind of, I think, trying to achieve here, but we're just kind of at the early stages, I would say, of working toward that here in Glen Rock. If that helps.
Yes, all right, so, again, this is the part where you tell us what you want, what spoke to you during today's meeting. So we have a very short, just 2 pages. We would love, if you're interested, if you provided your contact information. If you're not comfortable with that, you just want to give feedback, that's great as well. So contact information, the front, you'd be interested in receiving support for these areas. There's also an area for others. So that's the service you feel like you would need. And then on the back, I would be interested in volunteering to provide the following. So if you're interested in being a volunteer. And then this question, what opportunities are you interested in next? If this has really lighted a spark within you, there are lots of different options for you to get more information, get more involved, lots of options for everyone. So we're just thrilled that you're here, and like I said, contact information is ideal, but feedback is the most important. All right, and we have a second set of hands. So, all right.
Yes. May I make a comment? So I just wanted to say to everyone that we're going to pass this out, and please fill it out if you're so inclined. We're going to spend a few minutes just so we can get started, then have a bit more discussion, in case probably there might be more questions. And then we're going to give out the wonderful door prizes. And we hope, of course, we love that you all came, and we hope that some of you will get on board in a way that you're comfortable with. And, if
Yeah. Thanks for coming with pens as well. Here you go. Perfect. You don't have one? Pens are coming.
Last little bit, we already benefited from her wisdom, but I need to introduce formally Dr. Emily Greenfield, who's a resident of Glen Rock. She is a gerontologist, a professor of social work at Rutgers. She's an internationally recognized scholar and leader on community-based social innovations for aging, including the villages. And since 2015, Dr. Greenfield has been working with community leaders in New Jersey to spur the development of age-friendly community initiatives in Berkeley County and beyond. And we are thrilled to have her as part of our movement and as our neighbor. Come on up, Emily.
people are ready, I'll be available to collect.
Okay, I think I'm the thing standing in the way between now and door prizes and food and some commuting, so I'll keep my comments brief. But hello, everyone. My name is Emily, and I'm thrilled to be standing here, kind of in a dual hat of Glen Rock resident and professionally as a gerontologist and a professor at Rutgers, our state university of New Jersey. I'm going to begin on a personal note, so I just want to share this past Saturday. Our family celebrated a birthday party for my 5-year-old daughter, and we had this birthday party planned a little while back, and we were going to have it at a bounce place. And then we're watching, the COVID case rates go up, and we're like, oh, is it really a good idea to have a bunch of 4 or 5-year-olds in an enclosed space bouncing? So we kind of made a last-second call to cancel the reservation at the bounce place and have the party outside and just have the kids play. And I have to tell you, we had that version of the birthday party for her when she was 4. We lived in a community in Maine just as our pandemic year, and we had it similarly outdoors, and 2 kids showed up when we were in Maine. And this past weekend, we had over 20 kids at our daughter's birthday party. And I think it just speaks to the fact that, people in Glen Rock, they show up. They care. This is such an easy place to feel community with each other, and I really feel like in many ways, that's the secret sauce of aging in community and making something so exciting like a village take off and really mean something and touch a lot of lives in a lot of different ways. So I know there's a lot of discussion around ways that villages can support aging in community, but I also just want to emphasize a really important point as well, that villages are also a structure to give. And we know from gerontological research actually that, there are challenges that come with aging and in later life, and it's important to be able to receive support, but the best way to receive support is in the context of caring relationships like family, where people are kind of interdependent and kind of giving and receiving over a long period of time, and the village just kind of takes that and emulates it at the community level. And I feel like so many of us are so blessed to have private networks of relationships, and the village does not take the place of that. It just makes it even easier for those private relationships to come about and more inclusive for people for whatever reasons might not have access to those relationships when they really need them at a certain point in time. So I just want to really emphasize that aspect of the villages and to invite all of you to join a wonderful team that quickly, new friends, old friends, developing grassroots things, can be so much fun and such a joy and so exciting, and it's really incredible to be part of this founding group that's trying to get something going, not just in Glen Rock, but really in New Jersey. There's very few villages. We're kind of a village desert in the state of New Jersey with so much potential to have these innovations grow in our own backyards. And then also, we talk about over 300 villages. You think about all the places in a country as big as the United States, it's still kind of exceptional. And it's a great time, I think, to be part of this movement because it's withstood 2 decades of the concept existing, right? Like it was founded in 2001 in Beacon Hill Village. So it's not necessarily a brand new idea that's like some passing trend. I think it's pretty safe to say like villages are just going to continue to grow and become more of a thing. And yet it still is kind of exceptional for a community to even get to this point, to have a room full of lively, vibrant, dedicated community members who are taking the time to come out and think together about creating something very special that will kind of be for the here and now, but then also for the then and long-term future. So I just really wanted to encourage you all to continue to think about how you might want to connect and join us in trying to continue to move these ideas along, and also really the importance of word of mouth and talking through your own neighborly networks of this idea to help it keep going. So thank you very much.
On your way out, we have, of course, brochures and more information. Yeah. On the way out, there are, of course, brochures, more information. There's also something called the File of Life that we'll be doing a separate event on, with focused just on that giveaway. So this is a packet that you place on your refrigerator that has all of your important emergency and medical information. So, and we will be partnering with the ambulance corps and the fire and police departments to make sure that all our emergency responders in town know to take a quick peek for that when entering somebody's home. So if you're interested in one of those, you may take it tonight. Otherwise, we'll be having another event focused solely on that. We also have reusable shopping bags. Thank you, Skip Husking, for bringing those because, as we all know, tomorrow the plastic-free law goes into effect. And am I missing anything? Yes.
In addition to having this on your refrigerator, you can make a copy of the insert with all of your information on it and carry it on your body, so that people who have medical issues and out in public, they still can be safeguarded. Take a picture of it and put it on your phone.
Thank you, Jackie. So the senior newsletter, yes, Kathy, who is the editor at large of the senior newsletter in town, would like to just make a brief announcement that the newsletter can be found at all the houses of worship in town: Kilroy's, the library, Borough Hall. What else am I missing? Glenport's if you live there, and also on the borough website under the seniors tab. All right. What? Yes. Okay. Patty Chin. What is Patty Chin one?
From Asian Fusion and Glen Rock.
All right, Asian Fusion. Bob Kaufman.
Torino's Pizzeria and Restaurant.
Torino's. Arlene Corey.
Asian Fusion in Glen Rock.
Oh, they're very generous. Paul Topol. Glen Rock Inn. Reggie. Not Reggie. Reggie. This basket of cookies. Oh my goodness. So this is the new bakery in town.
I'll be your best friend.
Okay. What? Brian Abers, thank you so much for coming out tonight, everyone. We hope to see you again and work with
you.